Oh, yeah, most definitely. I just want to welcome everybody to our quarterly meeting today. Sorry, my camera just went out on me. Here, so thankful for the Mayor Farrell as well as the Federal Way Black Collective. I just wanted to give an opportunity to for the ED of the Federal Way Black Collective to speak, Ms. Lynn Adahosa. Lynn?
Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. We just want to welcome you to, I think it is actually our 6th quarterly African American community meeting. And I'm fortunate to have all of you here joining us. And we have a large agenda packed with updates based on things you guys have asked about updates for in the past, and just making sure we understand where the city and the mayor's office is at, and moving forward with future things on later on the agenda. So Joanna or Tara, if we could drop that agenda in the chat just so it's available for everyone. And then we've got the live meeting notes available. What's up first, Deontay?
Right now, what's first is the mayor's update. What I have?
Oh, I think actually, Deontay, I think we've got the slideshow by the
my apologies all. My camera literally just went out on me. So I'm kind of like panicking over here, getting ready to switch computers. So yes, let's do the slideshow first. Sorry.
Thank you. 1 second. I'm pulling it up now for you guys. Of course, everyone's technology wants to mess up today.
If you are not familiar with Mercury retrograde, it has hit Federal Way. Thank you all so much for your patience.
What'd you say, Bill?
When you look at Saturn, you can see the entire circumference of the rings.
Huh.
The telescope. It's pretty cool out there in the southern sky.
Huh.
on the show.
And thank you so much, Joanna, for providing us with that PowerPoint slideshow presentation. And now Lynn will give us a Federal Way Black Collective update.
Thanks so much, Deontay. So I know the presentation went through, but shortly we'll be dropping the actual link to it so you can all actually also participate. Because the feedback that we got was from social media and our email list. We want to give everyone that opportunity to provide additional feedback so that it is also available so we can share with the council and the mayor's office. I'll say my update is going to be very short tonight just because I want to make sure that we can get directly to a lot of the mayor's updates from the last meeting, just because we have a lot of agenda items there. But I will circle back and end off our meeting with my updates so we can keep on track, because I know it took a few minutes for us to get the presentation together. So I want to make sure that the community actually has that opportunity to speak. So I will go ahead and defer. I think Deontay is at the mayor's update next.
Yes, it is. And thank you very much, Lynn, for all that you do in the Federal Way Black Collective. I know you guys have a farmer's market thing, but we'll get to that later. Mayor's update. Hello, Mayor Farrell. What it is?
Oh, hi. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you for inviting me. And I mentioned that Representative Taylor is here, Representative Johnson, and Senator Wilson. So it's great to be in such esteemed company. Thank you so much for being here. And we've got members of the council, Councilmember Kochmark, Council President Honda, Councilmember Tran, Councilmember Kraft. It's like weren't we just here last night, just 24 hours ago? So lots happening. So let me just go by the agenda and the particular items. For the items of police officers and police body cameras, I want to let you know that we do have, I believe the chief is on but I have an update, but I want to let you know we do have, if you have follow-up questions with particular expertise, follow-up for the housing action plan and childcare, we've got Sarah Bridgeford, our human services manager. For broadband, Steve is working with our federal lobbyist on that. On our shop local efforts in farmers market, Bill Vadino is present on that and can follow up. And I have my own updates as well. And for the diversity, equity, and inclusion coordinator, Sarah as well. And I've got an update on exactly how we're moving forward with that. So as many of you know, last night, my proposal and the chief's proposal to add 13 new police officers to the force was on the agenda last night. It was unanimously approved. We had a great discussion about this. I see on the agenda, what is the potential for at least 6 to be community service officers? What I would say right now is I wanted to go back and look again at when I received this agenda, when we had an earlier meeting this morning, is go back and just review the chief's presentation and just make sure that I wanted to make sure that I had it all right, that we've got the proposal with the 13 officers right now that we've outlined with the community and with the council and that they've approved. It's proposed that out of the 13 new officers, 6 officers to patrol, Well, let me go back a step as well and let you know that with the vacancies that we had, because we had quite a number of vacancies because of retirements, I think we're down to 6 vacancies now, and within a week we should be at hopefully at 5. So I'd like to thank the chief and his command staff for working hard to bring that together. Part of this presentation that we did in the proposal was to incentivize new recruitment to the to the city as well. And there's a lot of buzz and excitement about bringing in new folks into the department. Part of that is take-home cars and a compensation program that I think will incentivize new folks to come and the officers that we have to stay. So with the 13, the idea, what was passed last night was 6 officers to patrol, 1 of each of the 6 patrol squads, 4 officers to form a PRO-ACT unit. And that's to make sure that we have areas in which we've got high crime areas, we can make sure that we do some prevention. And that's a key part of that. And 2 officers to the Special Operations Unit. And that's working with social workers to assist. And I'll explain that in just a moment. And the chief talked about that last night at the meeting, to assist with our unsheltered population and those suffering from mental health related issues, and 1 officer to the traffic unit. I would say that we're having a conversation about law enforcement, and I want to also thank our legislators. They were a part of a meeting that we had at Auburn City Hall yesterday. Yes, Bob, we were in your old stopping grounds at Auburn City Hall, and the mayor of Auburn, Nancy Backus, hosted us, and the mayor of Kent was there as the mayor of Renton, and we were having conversations about criminal justice issues and the upcoming legislative session, but a lot of it focused on our efforts to make our community safer and also make sure that our officers are accountable. I would say that in this conversation that we're having about police, I don't think that from my perspective, the conversation and the approach isn't really an either or. It's really a matter of, because of the uptick in violence and because of the uptick in crimes that are occurring, and because of our efforts to really get to a reliable percentage of the officers as compared with a ratio to the population, we just need to get more numbers to be able to respond. That doesn't, though, affect our approach about seeking ways to de-escalate, and training de-escalation is a critical part of that, and making sure that we are encountering people, understanding that they're human beings with their own frailties, and when we approach them, we've got to be mindful of chemical addiction issues, mental health issues, and so I think that's really where that's where the intent of this question, when I read it, comes from, is making sure that we are focused on that. I do want to let you know, one thing that the chief talked about last night was that we are engaging a lot of the South King County cities are working with the South King County Behavioral Health Response Team, the BHRT. And that's a partnership that includes the police departments of Algona, Auburn, Black Diamond, Des Moines, our city, Kent, Pacific, Renton, Tukwila, and Kent behavioral agencies, to provide a coordinated response to those in South King County experiencing a mental health crisis and emergencies. And that program started this fall in 2021 with grant funding from the state. So that's a new development. The MHP is trained in de-escalation, crisis response, and safety planning and risk assessments, and will work with 2 navigators who provide short-term intensive case management and follow-up care. The team's goal is to support the individual through immediate crisis and into longer-term care if possible. And police and fire may refer a higher user of the 911 system, and police may refer a person who has increasing actions with the police due to a mental health decline. And that's oftentimes what happens, and I'm sure many of you have, or a friend or a friend of a friend or a family member where mental health is on a continuum, and sometimes you get into this downward cycle for various reasons. The King County Mobile Crisis Team, MCT, is something we're also working with that operates 24 hours per day, 7 days a week. They respond to first responders in the field to assist with people in mental health and substance use crisis. The team intervenes with individuals in their communities and identifies immediate needs and resources, and in most cases relieves the need for any further investigation by first responders. and they also provide transportation. So I want to let you know that that's on that in response to that question. So it's really not an either or for us. It's something that we are ongoing. Because we want, when we go out, when SOU goes out into the woods or goes out and meets with individuals that are unsheltered, we need to make sure that we're getting them services or referrals and that the contact is meaningful and not just move along to the next one. And so we understand that that's a key part. Okay, transitioning to, and I'm going to take questions obviously at the end, you guys, but there's a lot of information I want to get to because there's a lot of information going on. Body worn cameras. There's a lot of information. We, after extensive research, we made the determination to go with a company called Axon as the vendor for our body worn cameras. The administrative section of the police department is overseeing the implementation along with our law department, city prosecutor, finance, and IT. We currently have weekly meetings to ensure the program is on track, which is to be fully implemented by January 1st of the coming year. As of today, on 10/20/21, we received all of the hardware associated with the project. This includes cameras, attachments, tasers, holsters, and docking stations. IT is currently logging in, charging, and programming all of the devices to include assigning the necessary IP addresses to each camera. So there's a lot of detail with regard to that, but we are right now in the process of training the trainers, and that person that's there to train our trainer started today. It goes through Thursday, it looks like. And we've got, that individual has scheduled meetings with all of the departments over the 3-day period. November 3rd will be the train the trainer session for our force training unit, FTU, regarding the TASER portion of the program. As I mentioned last night, the council unanimously voted to approve the, they've voted to approve the officers. Let's see here. The last week of November, Axon will come in to provide a train. So they're going to be doing that. So there's going to be training, distribution of the equipment. We'll push out a robust department-wide training to all commissioned personnel during the month of December. Our plan, again, is to implement by January 1st, and we're moving quickly. And then the chief is here if you have any really fine detail questions on that. The housing action plan was also on last night, and let me just give you just a quick synopsis. The housing action plan, which is on here on the agenda, provides a strategic roadmap for actions the city can take to encourage housing production, greater housing diversity, and expand housing choices for residents of all income levels. It was passed last night. The plan promotes the expansion of housing choices that are inclusive to community needs. We did host a in-person community open house, and we had some electronic ones before that, but council wanted to make sure that we, and I as well, wanted to make sure we had the opportunity for in-person. There's all kinds of, HAP has 8 strategies, and obviously it's to promote a dense, walkable, and mixed-use city center, promote mixed-use walkable sub-areas and neighborhood centers, increase diversity and housing choice through expanding missing middle development opportunities, encourage accessory ADU productions, which is accessory dwelling unit production, ensure that financial and regulatory incentives for mixed income housings are effective, review school district impact fees on multifamily housing, coordinate affordable housing development and preservation with nonprofit developers, community groups, and the South King Housing and Homelessness Partners, SKIP, protect tenants and support pathways to home ownership. Implementation of the HAP will take over many years, and the plan includes an implementation matrix that sorts actions, records, obtains voter. Let's see here. That sorts actions between short-term, long-term, based on priority and the level of effort required. And there'll be opportunity for public input. And let's see here. With regard to childcare plan, childcare needs are pivotal and part of our ARPA funding proposals. The city is working with the Federal Way Black Collective and community partners on facilitating funding proposals from childcare providers who are applying for a Department of Commerce funding for infrastructure and operations. This includes assistance with permitting applications relating to their grant proposals, Childcare and Human Services will be a significant part of our ARPA ask to council. In fact, it's over out of the 19 million, it's a $3 million ask. All right, with regard to election centers, partnership with King County Elections, voting center at the PAC and ballot box locations. The Federal Way Performing Arts and Event Center is set up as a King County voting center. Like in the past, will be able to register new voters, update current voter records, obtain a voter registration card, and help voters who need assistance with completing their ballot. We've got trained staff and specialized equipment are available to help voters with disabilities cast a private independent ballot. The dates and time for this service at the PAC are as follows. So Saturday, October 30th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. The day before the election, Monday, November 1st, 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. So pretty much all day, ending at 6. And then on election day, 8:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. With regard to broadband access, which is obviously critical these days, as evidenced by how we're meeting today, and how the council is meeting, and many organizations across the state. Broadband issues continue to be addressed in our federal lobbying efforts for funding, as well as through our ARPA funding proposal. We're entering a partnership with a consultant to work on with us on a path forward to fulfill the significant and important community need. The shop local efforts, I just want to thank our team here. Pam and Kathy have entered for all of our businesses entered into the database that we can constructed here. We constantly verify that all businesses are listed. The business licenses are updated, and including those from the BIPOC community. Every time a business license is approved, they're added to the shop local website. And that's what I was just talking about. I mean, so well over, Pam, how many do we have? Like Pam is right outside my office. It's well over 4,000, you guys. Her and Kathy have been working like crazy getting those in. If you're aware, and I just want to say, with Bill and the team here, and in coordination with our partners at the Chamber of Commerce, I'm really proud of the efforts about the Shop Local campaign and the signs and and the ads that we did. We're really excited about that. If you're aware of any business that should be listed, please let us know. The farmers market, the market is ending. I know that's kind of a bummer. It's something that we all enjoy going on the weekends, and during the market season, there's been free space offered to businesses, including the BIPOC, nonprofit, and for-profit businesses. This included a focus on childcare, youth violence, and other resources in the community. And the farmers market was also an important venue for our community celebration of Juneteenth. With the question regarding the diversity, equity, and inclusion coordinator, next steps, as you know, we had gone, sorry, you guys, I need a cup of tea, one sec. We had gone through a process to not only did council fund, but it was a half-time position. And with all in, there was a certain level of funding. And we've been trying, we opened it back up after we hired Erica, and then Erica went off to Seattle to pursue that amazing opportunity at the city of Seattle. We've been really in the process of rethinking the position to make it a full-time position. I know that in talking with council members and members of the community, the desire was there to shape the position into more of a full-time position. And so that's something we've been working on. And I periodically check in with Vanessa, our HR manager now. And so HR, Community Development, Public Works have worked to redevelop and fund the limited term part-time DEI coordinator, that's what it was, to a regular full-time Title VI, Title VIII DEI analyst position focused primarily on community-facing programs and services. So what does that mean? The position, and so this is going to be actually in front of the council at the next city council meeting. So you guys, a lot of this is very timely. We just actually, with regard to the issues on the officers and the HAP, both those were voted on last night. The issue of the diversity, equity, and inclusion position to make it a full-time is on the agenda for the next meeting. And then, so this is what the new job description will be that I've signed the paperwork now and is going to the council. The position's primary immediate work plan includes comprehensive program outreach and implementation, of the city's Title VI plan, citywide limited English proficiency standards, Title VIII fair housing strategies, staff liaison for diversity commission, emphasis on underrepresented community engagement, DEI training for elected officials, and citywide internal DEI review and consulting in conjunction with the HR manager. And again, that's Vanessa. And the position will report through community development, specifically to the community services manager, with partnership to HR and public works management. The new position is going to FedRec on 8/26 for approval. Pending approval, it will be added to the 11-3 council. Actually, I originally said consent, but just this today I was talking to Stephanie, and it should not be on the consent agenda. I'm going to ask, and I have asked, that it be added to the business agenda. And we've got an agenda setting meeting tomorrow, no, Friday, that the mayor and myself and Councilmember Tran and other staff are involved in for the November 3rd meeting. Now, everybody just remember that council changed the rules on elections on the first Tuesday in November moving forward, that on election nights, council meetings are not on Tuesdays, they're on the next day on Wednesday. So that happens to fall on 11/3, just FYI. Once approved, recruitment and selection for the regular full-time position will begin immediately, and we'll get the person interviewed and hired. Vaccine efforts. The city was very engaged in getting the vaccination clinics to the long-term care facilities, to those in high-risk groups that were homebound, partnering with South King Fire and Meals on Wheels. The city partnered with St. Francis to run community vaccination clinics. The school district ran several vaccination clinics as well. And through, in anticipation for tonight's meeting, if we found out and got the most recent information that currently in South King County, we are told that 79.8% of our South King County residents are vaccinated with at least one dose. At least 79.8 have at least one dose. Now, with regard to the BIPOC community, fully vaccinated, the African-American community is at 78%. The Hispanic community is at 71. The Pacific Islander is at 70. The Asian community is at 94. The Caucasian is, or Caucasian white is at 68%. And the Native American is at 94%. King County Public Health continues to vaccinate residents at the farmers market, including those who are eligible for the booster shot. They'll be available for the next 2 Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., October 23rd and 30th. Vaccinations are also available, and maybe I'll have Bill talk about that in a few minutes. And I've gone through a lot of information. And again, if anybody has any follow-up questions, either for me, I'm available, but also I have the chief, Sarah with Human Services, Bill, and Steve. That is my report.
Thank you very much, Mayor Farrell. Sorry. And now we'll go to Q&A. Please feel free, if you feel uncomfortable asking any questions, please feel free to direct message me and I can be able to read it. And bear with me, I got my little small iPhone right now, but I'm here. So we'll open it up for community members to ask any questions that they would like.
Allison's got to have a question. Allison, you always have a question. Come on?
It's not my meeting, Mayor.
Allison, I got to ask you about your new adventure when you get a chance.
Someone asked, will there be any community members a part of the DEI interview position?
You know, I've been thinking about that, Deontay. I actually was anticipating that question. I've been kind of pondering that. I think because of the position, we did it before, I think that'd be a wise decision. I think, I think that's something that based on the nature, this was something that council really felt strongly about, that they really, during the midst of the budget process, they carved this position out and really led on this. We've got a great council, you guys. And so I think that's the input I've gotten from them. And I think that's something I'm going to make a commitment to you now, that's something we hadn't discussed it internally yet, but I'll make a commitment to you that that's what's going to happen.
Someone also asked in the chat with this about the social worker that's going to be a part of law enforcement. Can you elaborate a little bit on what that would entail?
You bet. So, right now we're utilizing those services that we reach into. And Leandra, I saw your hand go up when I started talking about this. Did you want to say something about that?
Yeah, I can try. My daughter is like sort of on a terror raid right now, but my biggest concern was that when you were going through the report, you were talking about the fact there is only 2 social workers that are servicing, several South King County cities. And when we heard the chief present last night, he even said that we want something more substantive here in Federal Way instead of providing people with just, a resource card list. And so something I brought up last night was really hoping for us as a city to be able to have an embedded social worker in law enforcement, like the Marysville Police Department's program, where they work in conjunction with police.
I like the idea. We talked about that. Leandra, actually, during the discussion about this with the officer proposal, Councilmember Kraft talked about that very issue. And while we do have the services available, and we're able to use economies of scale and be able to utilize joint resources, we were actually having pursuant to her question and the community interest in this, and really because of the importance of this, I think that's the direction we're likely going to go. I do think that we need to have that specialty about having a social worker or 2 on staff. So when our SOU does go out, whether they're encountering somebody deep in the woods in an encampment or on a street corner, we do have individuals, that I'm acquainted, that I'm aware of in our community that are like permanently at certain locations. And, a mental health check-in, a mental health component of this, a public health component of this, I do think that's the continuum that we're moving in. And I think we're obviously going to be talking about that as we move forward. There was some discussion about using ARPA funds. Now, obviously for ARPA funds, we're not thinking about ARPA funds for ongoing expenses. ARPA funds are really, they're one-time funded, but the amount of money we're talking about for the availability for a social worker at this point is really not that big. I don't think the delta is that big. I think this is a very important element with the human element and understanding, meeting people where they are. Because oftentimes I think there's been so much focus in the community about drugs, but drugs mask, as we all know, drugs mask underlying issues, whether it's mental health, emotional issues, that you get that co-occurrence. And so people start taking drugs oftentimes because of situations in which they have experienced, maybe it's abuse, maybe it's a mental health crisis. Our veterans sometimes suffer from this. And so I think we need to meet people where they're at. And so I want to thank the council and specifically Councilmember Kraft for her advocacy on this issue. We're moving in that direction. Had a meeting today on it.
Deontay, you're muted.
Okay, thank you, Cynthia. Thank you very much for that question. I just got another direct message that wanted to ask Mayor Farrell, why do you think the numbers are so low with the Caucasian community members of Federal Way?
In South County, I don't know. I would want more. I'm more very much a data guy. I really like to dig into numbers, and these got handed to me a few minutes ago. I'd want to take a look at some more numbers and analyze that. I think there's been a real focus. I think, maybe the flip side is what a great success story with the BIPOC community about making sure that there's been a real emphasis. And maybe there isn't that that emphasis in the community. I don't know. But I think maybe it's a difference in regard to emphasis in regard to directed to go get that particular healthcare versus a wide range of healthcare. People get the vaccine for a variety of reasons, most because they want to protect themselves, their loved ones, their coworkers. It's the right decision to make, but it's an individual decision. And so, it's America.
Yeah, this is America. Which segues into the next question. Do you have the numbers of how many firemen and or police officers that have been vaccinated?
I don't. I know that we are in line with we don't have a mandate, but we do have a policy that says that if you are in contact with the public, you have to have it. If you don't have that, then you have to be tested in a particular time. We are in full compliance with the CDC guidelines in regard to the vaccine or testing. And certainly if you're not at our, for the workplace, in order to be maskless at your particular station, you have to be vaccinated. Otherwise you have to have a mask on at all times. So we've got a certain code. In fact, actually, every day, the first thing I do when I walk in the front door, we have a face monitor, a temperature scanner. And the very first thing I do is I kind of tilt over and get my face. Every city employee gets temperature tested when they walk in the door.
Okay, awesome. So I do see here, King County Council Committee passed the motion this morning that unanimously voted that sent out the full council with 2 pass recommendations. I'm trying to understand the form of this question. Will the city of, will the diversity and inclusion efforts take into account the county's actions? Ms. Lynn, can you elaborate on your question? I can't, I'm really trying to read it and it just ain't penning for me. Sorry.
This is Lynn French. The county committee of the whole passed a motion to restore affirmative action in King County and to recommend to Governor Jay Inslee that he execute an executive order that would do the same. And so I'm not sure if you're aware of what the county action was this morning, but it's going to the full council. It was unanimously voted with a consent to be on the consent calendar for the full King County Council. The question I raised was, will the city's efforts work in conjunction with what the county is doing now to restore affirmative action in King County?
I'll have to look at that. I was unaware of that. I've got to take a lock at that, and I'll talk with our council member, our King County council member, all the time. So I'll communicate with him, and let me take a look at what they're saying and what the proposal is and what they voted on. It'd be interesting.
Thank you, Lynn. I would love to know some more information on that as well. Thank you very much.
I'd be happy to send you copies of the motion adopted by the council, along with recommendations that were sent previously to the governor to execute an executive order, which in effect would repeal the 1998 Governor's Directive 9801, which was an interpretation of I-200 that exceeded the parameters of I-200 itself.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lynn. I appreciate you. We now want to go to any recaps or any follow-up items. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you say something, Sai? Oh, yeah. Thank you, Sai. Appreciate you. Miss you. We want to go up to any follow-up items or any recaps that anyone may have.
Deontay, was that for me?
Oh, well, I just see recaps and follow-up items, Deontay and Cynthia. So I do want to I'm more so just saying if there was any items or anybody wanted to go over anything else, community members or.
If I can, Deontay, thank you.
Yep.
Just one about the rollout of vaccines for our kiddos, kindergarten through age 11. Public Health is working on, King County Public Health is working on a plan with the schools to do vaccines with pediatricians and at school-based health sites. But we know that in our community, at least a third of our BIPOC youth do not have a pediatrician until they're in middle school. So that means a large percentage of our community probably wouldn't have access. And so we are meeting to talk about how we can work with our community groups and organizations like the Boys and Girls Club and our youth serving organizations like Phenomenal She and Game of Life, and Guiding You for Life, and Progress Pushers, and all of the others that are in our community with communities and schools, to make sure that we reach our youth and that they have access to vaccines, and that when we do, we will also be offering the vaccines to adults and boosters for those who need it so that we can treat the whole family. So just know that we're working on that, and we are hopeful that the vaccine rollout will happen in November. So
Great news.
thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Cynthia. We want to open up the floor now for any comments from any ally community members.
Deontay, did you want me to give my update?
Oh, absolutely. That was going to be the next thing.
Oh, I can wait.
No, absolutely. It's fine. I didn't hear any comments or anything in my chat for any, so go ahead, Lynn.
Well, thank you so much. I know the mayor mentioned a couple of things that I'll be discussing, but definitely a high priority for us right now is going to be working with our small business networks and our child care providers. Federal Way is a child care desert, which means that our families, especially a lot of our partners, thank you so much for CHI Franciscan for continually showing up and highlighting the needs of your employees and all the small business owners that have highlighted these issues. But access to childcare, to healthcare, to funding to keep your business open and non-traditional hours has continued to be an issue. So please make sure you guys are responding to like our surveys about your experience accessing childcare. And I appreciate the mayor's office for making sure that we have dedicated staff to ensure that the funding that has come down from the Department of Commerce is available to our local providers so they can expand their access, as well as making sure that separate of childcare on a business level, small business owners are still able to access through the Federal Way Black Collective, the Small Business Resiliency Network funding, which will be starting back November 1st. If you have not seen an opportunity to join our Small Business Resiliency Network, please let us know so we can connect you so you can have access to those resources. When we went through the poll earlier, we showed the areas that we've seen from folks that they really want us to focus on as it relates to advocacy. Before our next meeting in January, that'll be after session starts. So we're already meeting with legislators. The ones that represent the 30th are currently on the call, but how you get the things you want them to focus on connected to them is reaching out to them, but also reaching out to partners like us so we can help mobilize coalitions behind things you want to focus on. So please join us at our community meetings. Please reach out to our case management or any other staff member to ensure that the concerns you have and want to move forward are actually being taken to the appropriate offices so that there can be movement during the legislative session by the community at large. And yes, thank you so much, Ms. Cynthia, for dropping that information. Please make sure you are registered to vote. And if you have not received your ballot, it's about time to start to check in with King County Elections and figure out if your address was incorrect. You can print a ballot and it can be dropped off in a post office box. There are 3 locations to drop off ballots and get assistance. So at the city hall, you can drop off your ballot. There's a ballot drop box. at 320th Library, there is a ballot drop box and some assistance with the librarians. At the Performing Arts and Event Center, there are 3 dates that you can go and get assistance to make sure your ballot is dropped off. I will just pause. I see Council President Hans's hand.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I just wanted to let everyone know that the council had too many council members here. We didn't announce this as a possible quorum. And so we asked for if anyone could possibly leave the meeting and watch the video afterwards of it, and so council members Lydia Cephadawson and Linda Kochmar volunteered to watch the replay of this meeting. But I wanted people to know that that was why they left. So thank you. Sorry to interrupt you.
Thank you. That's definitely an important update so folks understand why and don't feel there's any other reasoning. So thank you for that. I believe we covered a number of the upcoming issues, but as it relates to updates, please make sure you let us know if there's things you want us to focus on in meetings. I see Senator Wilson, who's on the call, just dropped a link for the Fair Start for Kids website. There are grants available, and please check that information out. I know we have a meeting upcoming next week for childcare providers because there is a lot of funding. And I'll just say it again, I truly appreciate the partnership with the mayor's office to ensure that there are staffing levels appropriate to make sure we can put the most amount of applications as far as possible to make sure we're serving our kids. Actually, I do want to make space. Senator Wilson, is there anything you'd like to update us on? I see your camera's on. Did you want to share anything that we can share with the community?
Now, the only thing I would say is every application is low barrier. It is not meant to be competitive nor a problem getting. So please, 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 we know the diverse nature of our community and we should be able to access dollars. And I also just want to make sure, Lynn, that folks know childcare providers all have dollars available for healthcare stipends until we can get that as part of their regular pay. So all of that information's on the website and anyone can reach out to me. And thank you for sharing space with me.
Thank you. I also want to take space for Rep. Johnson and Rep. Taylor who are on the call. I know that there was a tremendous amount of interest regarding police reform and law enforcement, and a lot of those bills involve both of those legislators. So is there anything you'd like to share or ask of our group tonight?
I think you might have cut off there, Lynn, but thanks for allowing me to share just a few words. As the mayor said, we had a great meeting with the South King mayors yesterday. We also have a follow-up with a number of chiefs across the state on Monday, including our own chief. And so we'll be working around potential trailer legislation or follow-up legislation to the reform bills that were passed this year. And the big goal for, at least for myself, is to clarify any legislative intent, particularly around behavioral health calls and community well-being checks. And so we want to make sure we get that right. And so police and law enforcement feel that they can respond to any calls. Our law enforcement have been responding to behavioral health calls. I haven't heard any concerns there. I have from other departments in the state, but I did want to make sure I said that. We also are going to be talking about some of the other policy decisions that we made. And you know, we'll be I'll probably be sharing a little bit more about that in the future, but for now, just wanted to let you know those stakeholder meetings are happening. And the beauty of it is we're involving both community and law enforcement together at the same time, and we're talking through how we make sure that these policies work for everyone. So thanks for the time.
Thank you so much, Rep. Johnson and Rep. Taylor. I really appreciate you guys making time. I just want to be honest, there's literally nowhere else in this state, or honestly, as far as I'm aware, this country, that you can meet with so many of your elected officials in one space and hear from them and have something prepared to share with them and hear back of their responses. So I just appreciate all of you guys making time. Rep. Taylor, thank you so much.
Thank you, Lynn. I'll just share that as a priority into the 2022 session. I'm part of the leadership team for the response to the Blake, and this is in response to the state
The Blake case where simple possession or possession of controlled substance was decriminalized, and then the legislature did three things. First, what they did was reduce it from a felony to a misdemeanor, and then next, what the legislature has to do is make the parties who have been wronged by this legislation from back to the 1970s. This is a problem that we had from the 1970s. We had to make folks whole. So that means vacating the records and returning legal financial obligations that they may have paid, or reducing the debts that they may still owe as it relates to the Blake decision. Next, the legislature is investing at the 2021 session, invested $88 million as a down payment on behavioral health, mental health, substance use recovery services. And this is not just treatment, it's also everything that's associated with someone who needs recovery. So that could be housing, that could be mental health counselors, things that are not traditionally paid for by Medicaid and systems like that, along with other investments that were already planned. So $88 million on top of millions and millions of dollars. And we recognize that we cannot treat our mental health system as what we have done in the past, which is, austerity budget in 2010. So many services were defunded in 2010, and we cannot continue in that stead. So we're essentially restoring them. These are things that helps communities across the state, and especially when I heard from folks in rural areas where they're like, we need mental health services, and these are folks who do not share my values in terms of progressive values. These are folks saying we need treatment centers, we need detox centers, we need crisis responders, we need. And these are things that law enforcement has also requested, because I do absolutely believe that our law enforcement are looking for alternatives to just putting someone in jail when they simply need somewhere safe to be, when they are in a mental health crisis or a substance use disorder. We simply cannot arrest our way out of this. So the third part is really then building out the plan that is regional in nature. So what we need in South King County is different than what's going to be needed in North King County, or even Seattle, or Pierce County and beyond. And so there'll be regional convenings of folks on requests for community. I've been working with Judge Larson on some funding that would come to our municipal court, because there's going to be some robust build out of our resources at therapeutic interventions that includes accountability. And when we talk about Blake, it is a very, very narrow statute. It does not cover all drugs in legalization or decriminalization. It's very, very narrow. And that we also know that other crimes are associated with substance use disorder. And we want to get to the root cause of many of these challenges and help people have a pathway out of the challenges that they're facing. And so we have to look at things in a more comprehensive way. So again, $88 million is a down payment on what we need to do to rebuild our behavioral health model, and then working on the ways that folks can get access to services without having to have a law enforcement response. For example, building out the new 988 system, which is an alternative to 911 when someone is in an acute crisis. So I'm happy to speak about that in more detail. Again, down payment, that means we're coming back to the table with some more resources to help our communities in need, to help our grandmas, our brothers, our sisters, our neighbors when they are facing so many challenges that are complicated and then exacerbated by the lack of access in the pandemic.
Sorry, y'all. Quick change. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Rep. Taylor and Rep. Johnson. Rep. Taylor, you've done such amazing work. We're trying to get to the bottom and finding those resources for our community members. In the meantime, we will go to our next steps. Lynn, is there anything that you would like to add?
I have nothing else to add, but I do realize I took space from like allies being able to comment if there's anything left, but please reach out to us if there's anything we can do to help you all prepare for this meeting. If you want to be connected to offices of elected officials that are on the call, please let us know. However best we can support you. Definitely keep us in the loop so we can help you move the community forward. Have a great night, everyone. Thanks so much, Deontay.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Have a blessed year.
Thank you. Great job, Deontay. Great job, everybody. Great job, Lynn. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Yeah.